Hey guys, VaulSC here. Last weekend played a few games on the Sunday as part of our mini competition for infiNity, and I've already covered the first game between Achilles and Cornac. So this is the second game, which will be my other Morats list against Tohaa. And the mission will be looting and sabotaging. That's the one where you've got to go to their side of the table, find the objective on their side, and destroy it in close combat. So just to show you the board we're on and a bit of a look at how this works. Alright, so there's one table side here where you've got Morats deployed, and then over here where Tohaa are deployed. We each have a respective objective on our sides of the table, and you've basically got to go over there and destroy it in close combat. There are also a couple of panoplies from which you can get D-charges, is the word I'm looking for. So my other Morat list actually runs the full Fireteam core of Dachiratsi, which probably not the best Morat choice. I sometimes dream about running them in a way where they can move up and under the cover of smoke grenades, then break the link and spec fire for them, throwing regular grenades at physical 14 at a single target. So you're rolling 4 dice on a spec fire, enemy has to dodge, you might be able to take out a few targets quite brutally that way, but it's very, very hard to pull that off. The main reason these guys are there are because this objective should be easy to kill in close combat by throwing the smoke grenades down. They move through. Even if there are jammers there, they don't really care about that, and these guys are really brutal in close combat. Also, providing a little bit of smoke for our friendly Yao-Gat in the backfield with the sniper rifle. Other than that, you've got the 2 Crackot Renegades, both very good at killing the objective with their double-action close combat weapon and Berserk. And everything else on the list really is just there to back them up and support them in that. So this particular table here now, I played this table for the second game and then had to play it again on the third game as well. So the next bat rep I'm going to be posting will be on this table as well. I felt like this table wasn't very well set up physically, just because there's some really big open wide areas around here where there's not a lot of large obstacles. So all of the firing through this lane here and this lane here and this lane here, it's just deployment zone to deployment zone. And then there are these 2 large elevated spots which can see pretty much everything. So it's just a bit too easy to control all of the fields of fire with long-range weapons. And to make matters worse, there are these large forested areas where it's a saturation zone and you need MSV2. So the game can easily be controlled by certain models, and it becomes a bit lopsided. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. Anyway, my opponent choosing to take first turn, and of course I've chosen my deployment zone as preferred. Unfortunately, he's using a lot of proxies in this list, so we're going to have to try and point out what's what. So he's got a Dachiratsi, which sort of a zone, which is counting as a Crackot Renegade. Then he's got a link team up here, which involve really just Makuls and I think a Kamal, one of the basic line troopers, that is. Then he's got a Sukiel with HMG, with a Makul and a Sakiel as a trio. So that was that. Let's grab the pen again. So that was the basic troopers, the Sukiel support team. Then we've got Nima, the special character. Everybody who's anybody in this army has got a Symbiomate, of course, and we'll rage about Symbiomates a bit more later in the game, but just generally he's got several groups of triads, and there's one on the left-hand side of the table as well. So we just looked at the 3 triads up there. On his far left-hand flank, he's got the Gaurel sniper with his 2 friends, the Makul heavy flamer as usual, and the basic line trooper. I don't think he actually run any Clipsos in this list at all. Anyway, on my side of the table, from right to left, we've got the Yao-Gat sniper. He's got a really long line through this alleyway here, but just generally trying to avoid being shot at from the enemy deployment zone. Crackot up on high ground. We've got the whole Dachiratsi link here. One of the Dachiratsi is being represented by Tritak Anyat, the Zerat Fort Observer out in the field, and my lieutenant represented by a Vanguard there, with the multi-snipers actually a combi Vanguard at the back. HVT on the left here, another Crackot Renegade. We've got our Ikajon and an R drone back here as well. Dr. Worm with the hacker next to him. I've placed the Q drone here just because I want to have it getting a line of sight to my objective, and that's the objective he's going to try and destroy. So even if he moves into the middle of the table and just shoots me, I've got Dr. Worm over here to revive him, so his first turn will really just have to be spent removing the Q drone and maybe the Yowgat with multi-sniper. And I'm not too worried about him doing that. Really, I just want to stall him for as many turns as I can, just continually putting ARO threats in the way, or just bogging him down to prevent him from killing for my objective in one go, and then I should be able to move out with smoke and blow up his objective, hopefully. I mean, that's a bit of a thin plan, but we're going for it. So, game starts with, of course, a bit of a crack-out impetuous, but the link teams, the triads, moving out. One of the crackouts moving up top on the right-hand flank of my side of the table, just onto this high ground here. He's going to be trying to set up spot here and rake into my deployment zone with his Red Fury. On the right-hand side of the table, he's now moving up with the Sukiel HMG and his buddy boys, and of course the Symbiote are looking to take out the Q-drone. So that's what he does attempt to do, just moves up the stairway of this building, sets up a spot up here, carefully avoiding any line of sight over this little barrier here to my multi-sniper, and just firing his HMG over at the Q-drone. Obviously I have an opportunity to roll back and get a crit, but no, it's the HMG that just kills me straight away. Alright, so next up, he does move the HMG to a spot where he can see my sniper, but this is where I get a little bit luckier because he's out of range with his HMG as it turns out, and he's going through a forest, and the multi-sniper does manage to beat him there and strips off the Symbiote, so that's something. Now, we're still looking at a position where he's got his crack-out here, and that was where the Sukiel was, if you can picture that, and of course my multi-sniper's down the bottom here, so he's still got multiple angles to attack me from here. So with the crack-out Renegade with Red Fury moving in, he's now able to fire at my link team. The powerful thing about the Dacheratse, though, is that when they throw their smokes at short range, they get the link team bonus, so they can throw 2 smoke grenades, hitting automatically on 20s, although you still need to roll the dice if it's a face-to-face roll, because you're still going to have to beat your opponent's rolls. So that's indeed what happens. This crack-out Renegade here is still out of sight, luckily. This is a point in the game where we've realized we've forgotten to nominate who the data trackers were, so I've nominated my central crack-out while he's nominated one of the Sukiel dudes in his link team here, or the Makuls in the link team with the Sukiel. So end result of the crack-out on my right-hand flank is that he, I think, kills maybe a drone or something like that, or maybe whiffs all of his shots, and I managed to put my smoke templates down safely. On his on the follow-up side of that flank, he's now moving up with his Gaurel sniper as well. So that was the position of the Red Fury crack-out that was attacking, and then we've got the Gaurel sniper moving up here, just trying to set up, going prone behind this rocky outcrop, so to speak, and moving his Gaurel somewhere along this cliff face so he can get some really good shots off through the trees. So just setting up here, he's got these 2 units prone at the back, Gaurel just standing up this angle here, and he's able to shoot through the forest at some of my troopers as they move out. We're also sort of checking because it is possible for him to actually see over the lip of this cardboard building if I'm not careful. So on my turn, I'm going to be moving to bring them along this side of the building, just so that their bases are fully obscured while they are prone. And his little triad right at the back, just jumping down from the building, moving a bit closer because he's going to be using these guys to go and destroy my objective with later on. So just setting everybody up and angling them behind total cover in preparation for the Morats' first turn. Nima also moving forward, doing the same thing, just setting up shop in the middle of the table here. Symbiomates for days, so not really too worried about the pesky Morats. Okay, so Morat turn 1, I've got a guy with this SMG here which can use, I think, Super Jump or Climbing Plus or whatever he rolled up to come and engage this Red Fury crack-out. Sadly for me, though, the dice went terribly for me here, and I managed to lose my crack-out while failing to take out his one, so just a very bad trade there for me. Looking carefully at the table, I decided to drop in my Raziat, and that's a drop trooper that Morats can take. I don't actually have the Raziat model. The new one looks pretty cool, might buy him, but for now, just using a Yowgat with Spitfire to represent him. And he's dropping down right at the back of enemy lines behind their building. And what he'll be able to do is just sneak around here and fire his Spitfire at this crack-out to remove him, and then set up shop here and get an angle onto the enemy Sukiel from the back and destroy the Sukiel with HMG, and hopefully the rest of his link team, and cause a bit of damage from the back lines. So first step, we've got the Raziat right here shooting at the Krakot and rips him up with the Spitfire. Next, moving around, firing at the Sukiel in the back. This is where I start to get a little bit unlucky, and he starts to pass some armor saves and whiffing some shots, but after a few orders, the Sukiel is removed. And then finally, following up on the Sakiel next down the stairs, and my opponent gets some really good luck here and kills me with his return fire from the combi rifle, sadly, which was extremely annoying, but our little friend behind the corner here is rendered unconscious by the end of that, which was, yeah, annoying. You can see here I'm just reforming and repositioning the Datrazi link team. One of them is moving over to this side, the rest of them just staying behind this cover here, just waiting for their opportunity later in the game when they can move out over that side and destroy the enemy objective in close combat. Because he still had his Krakot Renegade with Red Fury up in this spot, my sniper moves from the position here over to this side here, snipes him with the multi-sniper, and then moves back over. So that's all I could really do with my second pool of orders in this initial turn. So there you have it. This guy's rendered unconscious, and the sniper's back in the original position. Okay, so my opponent's turn 2. This is Tohaa turn 2. Now moving out, seeing I've got very little to cover the table with, the Gaurel sniper standing up, moving towards the forest to try and get some shots off at me. So luckily I've repositioned my team here. I've got the link team in a bit of total cover, but it will allow him to fire out at some of the remotes on my in the middle of my deployment. So he's just repositioning, trying to find the right spot for it. That's his Group 2. Group 1, though, he's now moving out with this little link team comprised of 1 line trooper and 2 Makuls, and they're going to be moving forward through the table to complete the objective, just win the game here, because he's managed to take out the few bits and pieces that I had that were covering the table with his Gaurel sniper. So they're moving through, just planning on moving right through past here, past the Zerat, getting into close combat. He's got a clip smoke grenade, so that'll help him against any snipers. So here they come here. The Zerat is right around the corner. She's just got a flash pulse and a boarding shotgun, but they can put down the smoke in front of her as they're doing here. So throwing the smoke down, my opponent throws caution to the wind and takes a few long-range pistol shots from my linked Dacharatse, but unfortunately the pistols fall wide, bounce off armor, and he gets through with at least 1 Makul and 1 line trooper. So one of them goes down, but the other 2 make it, and they're inside a smoke. Now, a controversial part of the game arises, where my opponent asks, well, if you are in base-to-base with the enemy objective and you're trying to attack it in close combat, do you get a +1 burst bonus for being in a linked team or having a friendly model also in base-to-base contact with it? Now, at the time, I said, I don't think so, because if you start treating it like a close combat, then you have to ask questions like, well, if your model's in base-to-base contact with the objective and somebody else shoots at it, are they -6? If you move into base contact with an objective as a marker, are you revealed, as you normally do when you go into close combat? If you move into a base-to-base contact with an objective, can you move away from it without killing it? I mean, the answers to some of these questions intuitively would be yes and no, but the rules are very murky when it comes to close combat with objectives. So guys, just want to pause the battle rep and say, oh, wrong image, I don't really need you guys to come and comment on this YouTube video about your thoughts on the ruling, really. I went onto Facebook, we talked about this with a whole lot of people, and the tournament organizer here just decided to make the ruling that you do get +1 burst and extra damage when you're attacking the objective with a linked team. And that's fine. I don't really care too much about this particular rules situation or the solution, so I know you guys love posting your rules lawyering on my YouTube channel, but don't bother. Let's just get on with the game and enjoy it for what it is. So the Tohaa easily able to destroy my objective completely with the Makul double action close combat weapon, which puts them well ahead in this game. It's my turn though, and I've got my turn 2 coming up. So the Zerat moves out, lines up a boarding shotgun hit with these 2 guys, and rips into them with that boarding shotgun, killing them. And that'll allow me to move out. So, seeing as we've already made the ruling that you get additional bursts when a multiple group hits their objective, I'm going to do that straight back to him, give him a taste of his own medicine. Dacharatse throwing out the smoke grenades, they're able to leap over here, climb down the ladder, and start moving out. So they'll be doing exactly that, just moving across the battlefield towards the enemy objective. He has hidden his Gaurel sniper and troops beyond the total cover of this ridge, but there is one Makul hanging out here, or a line trooper. So moving out with my combi rifle, Datratse first. He's drawing a bead here and firing at him until he eliminates that trooper, and then we continue moving. So the plan is effectively to throw some long-range smoke over to here, move the whole group of 5 in through to the objective, and get a couple of guys in base-to-base with it and just blow it up, and then leave a Datratse link in their face. So that's exactly what happens. The Datratse all move through. We get the first guy into close combat, followed by a second, and after a whole lot of bashing on the objective with MA4 with an additional burst, physical 14, the whole thing collapses, and we're back to even again. He's destroyed my objective, I've destroyed his objective. Our data trackers weren't involved in the destruction of either objective, so we're square. But importantly, he'd only left 2 troopers near my lines. I've left 5 Datratse witch soldiers in a link team next to his lines, so we'll see how that happens, or how that goes. Also following up with Group 2 and moving an Ikadron here to provide a flash pulse for later. Alright, so the first thing that happens is that he goes impetuous with his Makul into my first Datratse, and threatening a flamer throw here, but I decide to dodge with the entire link team. After clarifying a rule that if I want to, this Datratse here can just dodge 0 inches and remain in combat. Normally when you dodge, you're dodging out of close combat, but my argument is that you can dodge 0 inches and remain in close combat if you really want to. So all 4 of them dodge and everybody escapes the flamethrower, luckily. Physical 14's good. Another Makul coming around the corner, but doesn't really come into line of sight of any of the guys who are available to shoot at. So Datratse should be bogging him down quite handily. This is Tohaa turn 3, by the way, that we're on at the moment. Also Nima Sata on top of the little crate. Okay, so Gaurel now moving up onto the objective, onto the top of the ridge here. He's going to be getting onto the side, and this is going to allow him to shoot at my Ikadron, shoot at my flash pulse bot. During this game, my opponent, I think, forgot that he had lost one of his models here and may have been rolling too many sniper dice to shoot at the guys. I remember him rolling more than 1 dice, but really he should only have a single dice given that he's in the link having to shoot through the forest. So he could fire at this Datratse witch soldier here, he can fire at the Zerat way out in the field, and he can fire at the Ikadron, which is not pictured over there. So splitting his burst, but he's really only got 1 shot, so this shouldn't really have been very effective. Although during the game it was, because we'd forgotten that that he'd lost a member. What he can do is he can split his burst in 2 directions, just not 3 is the point that I'm making with the burst 2 multi-sniper going through the forest. So there are all of his targets. He can eliminate this guy, and this member of the link team as well if he doesn't dodge out of the way. Alright, so Datratse now dodging every which way, just trying to stay alive and provide the most resistance to Tohaa. My thinking at this point is that he needs to either capture more stuff in the panoplies or complete classified objectives, otherwise it will be a draw, or maybe I'll win by doing one of those things. So as he's moving in with Nima, I'm trying to throw some reactive smoke down with the Datratse, of course. And elsewhere, a lot of troopers taken out by this Gaurel, probably rolling too many dice, but when the dust clears, it becomes my turn, and the Tohaa haven't actually completed any objectives. So my data tracking Krakot jumps down from location just out here, firing this is an impetuous shot, just in case I get a lucky shot into these guys on the hill. That doesn't eventuate, and the Krakot is destroyed. Looking over here, though, what I'm able to do is I'm able to move the Datratse that starts from this position to this position here. Nima in the previous turn moved over there and taken out a couple of Datratse here. So what he's doing is he's trying to move towards the panoply as Nima Sata shoots at him. And with Fizz 14 throwing the smoke down on a 17, odds are reasonably okay to avoid Nima, and that is exactly what happens. A smoke grenade goes down. And then, as he moves further across, another smoke grenade goes down, able to go to the objective and press the button on it. Get some stuff out of the panoply. Turned out to be a breaker rifle for his last order. So there he is there, nabbing the breaker rifle from the panoply. And then, lastly, moving away from the panoply and coming within 8 inches of the enemy HVT. And that'll give me a 2-point lead to end the game. My opponent confessed afterwards that he'd forgotten that it was his last turn. That's not really a dice thing or a scenario thing. That's just sort of like on you when that happens to you, that you forget to spend an additional order going and completing an objective like Extreme Prejudice, which is something he had, or sending a guy up to attack the Panoplies. To be fair, though, I had left a lot of troops in the way of that kind of thing. There was an entire Dacheratsi link right in front of him, so he still needed to spend some orders getting through them, which is what he was doing anyway. Plus, the sniper on the hill shouldn't have been as effective as it was, given that it was down a member of the link team. So that was game 2 of our little mini-event on looting and sabotaging. I'll be on exactly the same table for the third game, but we'll post it up next time. Until then, see you guys later.